Hello, welcome to the Wealth Transfer. My name is Terry Sacka. I'm along with Dr. Charles Vance, pastor, and you are watching the program that will lead you down that path for biblical principles, global economics, and how to protect and preserve your family's wealth. Stay tuned as we continue to talk about the banking system, how it really operates, and how important that is for your understanding your future, your family, your inheritance to your children and your children's children. Wait until you see the bank rules that you don't know exist when we show you this video later on.
They're somewhat staggering. I've found over the years myself. Hey, the Bible says in Proverbs 22 and verse 7 that the rich ruleth over the poor and the borrower is servant to the lender. I've never heard anything more true. In the business world,
case, yes.
Hey, in the business world, we call it the gold rule. He that has the gold rules, not the golden rule, the gold rule. And certainly the rich rule the poor. And if you borrow, you're servant to that lender. Most people don't know that mortgage, the word mortgage means debt unto death.
Oh, Charles,
pretty
right there.
Pretty powerful, pretty strong.
I like this. What you just said is say that again. The rich, no, we not got the rich rule with the poor, but then the borrower
is servant
to the
lender.
These are Federal Reserve notes in your wallet right now, which means they're a debt instrument, meaning we are the borrower, servant to the who's in charge of this. When in all of our history, going back from 1970s to back beyond, this used to mean this, which means we weren't servant to anyone because we were in charge of our wealth. When we say we the people, when we say we the people of the United States, it was when we were sovereign in the ability to make decisions for our family, our church, our community, our state. We are increasingly losing all of that sovereignty. We are becoming a centralized system, which all through history will show you to be socialist, or call it what it is. But what's happening is, if we don't catch this subject matter we're getting at, you continue to put confidence in this, think everything is going to be the same, you're going to miss this next Shemitah cycle and get caught flat-footed. This time, I think it's going to be far worse of an economic collapse impact to the markets than even 2008. So we're really concerned about the timing.
But Terry, a lot of people don't even use money anymore. I mean, you know, we're not even using, you know, cash.
Right.
Most people don't. I mean, or most people in America don't anymore. Most people are using credit cards or debit cards.
Do you know what's interesting, Charles? You're right.
Checks.
You're right. You know what?
So what bearing does that have?
They're not using it, but what we call velocity of money, meaning the amount of money that's moving or not, most people are hoarding it. So they may be using on be using on a daily basis their cards, but they have this in their mattress. And it's about not being in the banking system.
As far as saving something, they'll put this in savings, which is not really in the bank when you get...
Well, and we're going to show that video later. It's right, that's right. Because they're saving it either in a bank or in a mattress. Right. I mean, the older folks, especially from the Great Depression, will tell you, you know, it's in the mattress. It's that old kind of thing, it's in the mattress or in the wall, as we did last week, to the illustration of that. But the reason we want to, you know, to keep going with this is known as like a checkbook lending. Think about this. When you put a dollar bill in the bank, they can lend off that $1 on the average around $24 for every one, but as high as $60 for every one that you put in.
When I first heard that, it was bizarre to me.
Yes.
I mean, it was just absolutely bizarre that anybody could do that. You're saying that the banking system can actually, if I take $1 and deposit it in the bank, that the banking system can loan out $20 to $60 just on paper.
Yes. Now, what it means is on paper, that's right, that's the digital world, meaning whatever you put in that bank, it's not really there, because the bank, let's say there's $100,000 in the bank will lend out, you know, millions off of that. And if there ever was a need to get all of your money back, you're not getting it. There are so many reports right now that you can't even withdraw the money that's in the bank that you have.
I went through the drive-through the other day, our bank, and a guy got a large stack of cash. I don't know how much it was. I wanted to ask him. I wanted to roll my window down and say, hey, what are you doing with all that money? But the lady said we had to have this sent over because we didn't have this amount, and it wasn't that much cash. I mean, you know, it was a stack of cash, which I'm sure was several tens of thousands of dollars just looking at it, but it wasn't that much when you think in terms of a bank, having it in a bank, but they didn't have it. They had to have it sent. He had to come in and say, I want my money, and it took them, I think they said a day. I was just happened to be, you know, I had my window down. I was hearing their conversation. So it took them at least a day to get the money, and it was coming from another centralized location.
That's right.
Where that they're holding the cash, or where that they have some cash, and they're really not holding everybody's cash. They're robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Not even close. And so if we ever have a national emergency, which the reason we're talking about this is we really believe there's a big global correction coming. And if you think what you have in savings is safe, be cautious, because what Charles just said is so true. Not only that, they're putting such pressure on the banks, even threatening jail time for bankers, if they don't report SARs, which is suspicious activity reports, on people who deal in $3,000, $4,000 or $5,000 in cash. That's insanity, by the way.
And let me interrupt. We just switched from a bank. We had like 5 banking accounts with them that would not allow you to put $1 in somebody else's banking account. They wanted to know every person that was moving cash from one place to another place.
And it's not even about the reason they say. Whatever they want to say, terrorism, criminal activity, fine. Thomas Jefferson and some of the ancients, our founding fathers would tell you who the real criminals are, and they're not what we're talking about here. But that's my whole point, is because they're saying it's for one reason, but they always would do that. The Luciferian will always tell you it's for this, because they're really over here fleecing it out. What it's really about is knowing who, what, where, and control, and more so when the collapse happens, who really is going to have what? Because is it really going to be there for you? And this is really important to understand. So let's look at this right now as an example. We'll go to image 13. This is the world stock market and growth. I want to get in kind of a time frame to get an idea of what we're referring to. Look at that, by the way. Ever since the QE4 kicked in, look at the difference.
Wait, no, people don't know what that means. That's a bank. That's a term that the bank uses.
The world stock market, they're printing money basically, where that blue line is on the left.
So QE
is printing money.
They're just printing more money.
All over the world.
Nothing to back it. They're just printing it. Okay.
Printing money. That green line is the world stock markets. But look at how it's detached from the actual statistics of micro data. That's the data of growth that's really happening in the economies. If that's not a divergent to set up your thinking, you can take that off. If that doesn't wake anybody up, the stock markets are booming because they're using the printed money to run through the systems, but it's fake. It's fiat fake. Now keep this in mind. The importance of that is your future's ability to buy goods and services for your retirement, your family, to support your churches, if your retirement system is in this stocks or bonds. So a lot of folks say, well, what can we do about that? How can we, if this really is kind of setting up for another collapse, how do we properly diversify ourselves? And remember now, this is not about Cornerstone. Go anywhere. But we are here to seriously educate. How do we do it? And here are some ways you can.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, you keep hearing the term that the top 1% is getting wealthier and the poor are getting poorer. What you just saw in that image, that chart, was the stock market, global stock market system exploding in value. You think you're all doing good in your retirement accounts if you're in the stock market. But the problem is overnight that thing's going to collapse and you're going to end up losing everything.
Can you put that,
It's kind of like hot air.
Image back up again? Because I'd like to see that red line again. I would like for you to
go to image
explain
13 again if we could, please.
What's the red line?
Growth.
What do you mean
Economic
by
growth.
So are you talking about like goods and services being produced?
Yeah, goods and services moving around, money moving around, people, prospering, jobs and wealth and
So
moving.
the growth is actually going down
Collapsing,
from when
if
they
you
started
noticed.
printing money,
Absolutely,
that QE4.
that's right.
And the stock markets are exploding.
Yes. You want to explain that? Right?
Well,
it's confusing, isn't it?
Well, certainly it's
Because if you see that
confusing.
stock market going up, don't you think that everything's doing great? This is what we want to get at. We really need to understand the stock market going up does not mean it's going good. Matter of fact, there's so many cartoons about it. They're printing money to feed the stock market bankers and traders, but Main Street, little mom and pop small businesses are not seeing that money. They're not giving loans. The housing market's not doing well if you understood that it's major corporations buying most of the houses. I love that Charles was that curious because he couldn't understand why the divergence so much. We are not growing. Matter of fact, economies are negative. We're still in recession, mind you, from 2008. The numbers they're showing you are not true.
Terry, you worked for a stockbroker firm for years, right?
Yeah.
Tell me and tell the folks how that stocks get their value in the first place, because it's not the value of the company. We've seen that over the years. I bought some stock a few years ago. It started at $7 and went up to like 70 because somebody had said that the company was going to do real well.
But now sometimes it can be good because if you happen to get in low and it goes real high and you sell it, yeah, you think you make money.
See, I'm not talking about that side of it. I'm asking, how does the stock actually get its value when somebody says it's worth so and so?
Because they're buying and selling a share of it in the market.
Okay, so it has nothing to do with what the value of the company is.
Not necessarily, because they say it does. But then there's something called the PE, which is a price to earnings ratio of how much the value of that stock should be worth versus how much the company actually produces.
So only people that know stock market even actually know to go to that
yes,
and
because
look at it.
Anything over really 20 in the PE is excessively overvalued. Yet stocks will trade over that all the time.
Is that 20%?
No, 20 price to earnings.
Okay.
So the price can only be 20 times higher than their earnings in that respect.
Okay.
But
I bought some stock a few years ago, one of the major box companies, and it would go up from 40 to 80 and split again, and go up 40 and 80 and split again.
Right.
I mean, it did it for like 4 or 5 years, and I know that company couldn't be worth that much money.
No.
In fact, the company was borrowing money to build more buildings.
Yeah.
So you know that their company, I mean, if they sold out, they wouldn't be worth anything.
And a lot of what you're seeing now in the markets, the stocks going up are going up because companies have been taking money they're making, buying the stock back from the market.
We'll say it looks like the
price is strong, but it's not.
Wow.
It's been a fake. And there's been big corporations doing this. The reason we've seen the stock market in certain companies be valued so high is they keep buying back. If you ever hear stock buybacks, they're buying their own stock back to make the price look better. Their projection of earnings keep getting lower and lower and lower. It is smoke and mirrors, if anything there is. Some folks have said, oh, I'm doing well in the markets. If you entered in maybe 2 years ago, sure, you probably are, and you better take your profits and run.
And if you sell fast.
And you sell fast.
Volatile.
For those who've been in it their whole life, for the last 10 years, they're probably just breaking even from the collapse of 2008. Maybe they're profiting, but what they don't know is the inflation on their buying power and their dollar value, they're probably still at a loss from 2008. And keep this in mind. Go to image 14 here. This is our S&P market to the macro data that shows what really is going on. Look at how on the left the green and red lines kind of stayed together, because the value of the market can historically would travel with the actual data, meaning the underlying buying and selling, the real numbers. Look at the separation between the real numbers and the actual market. The S&P going up, The real data number is going down.
No, what's the real data numbers again? Tell us what
The real data, you can take that off. The real data numbers are, the real buying and selling, the real shipping goods and services, importing, exporting.
So again, it would be the actual value of the company.
Actual value of a company,
so than
actual,
the inflated.
actual moving of money, actual health.
So
If it was healthy, you would never see the divergence we see in those charts.
help me if I'm wrong on this, because I'm not a stock expert. You've been in this for a long time. Is it just basically assumed then, if somebody buys and sells a whole lot of stock, that stock's going to go up?
If there's more buyers than sellers, yes.
Okay. So if they're selling off, it's going to go down.
Yes.
If people are wanting to get rid of it. But
Yes.
if people are wanting it, so it's supply and demand.
But the big banks and traders are borrowing billions and billions of dollars for nothing because the interest rates are almost zero. So they're borrowing all of this cheap money, then going into the stock market and buying stocks.
So they're buying stock with borrowed money.
Yes.
So it's
margin-
artificially
Yes.
inflating the value of it.
The margin debt in the stock market is higher than it was in 2008, meaning
No.
there's more borrowed money right now in the stock market than the crash of 2008, Charles.
What's the bankers have to gain by doing that? Do they hope they'll sell out while the stock's still up? Because they know there's going to be a correction.
There's no doubt. What they're doing is they get mom and pop, we the people, to start actually spending money in the market. And this is what they used to tell us at A.G. Edwards. It was a cycle. It's just the way it is. It's psychology. Most people didn't get back in the stock market right away when it was low. They're afraid. When the average taxi cab driver starts going to the stock market because it's hot, the bankers are selling into that, and they're getting out.
Okay.
And so there's a reason the bankers are billionaires and we're not. They will sell into your buying, and when you're selling, they're buying. It's an opposite cycle. I'm just telling you that's how it worked on the inside. And you have to know what we're showing you here in the markets is for a reason, because this indicates what is coming. When you see that kind of divergence, it's lined up not only with a Shemitah this September. I'm contending we're ready to have another major correction in the market system. And know this one as we kind of lead into this. 1961, they set this emergency banking regulation, number 1. Instant seizure of bank deposits in an event there's an attack on the U.S. or there's a national emergency. So in 1961, they set this in. So
Now,
if
this is a law.
Oh, yeah.
A U.S. federal
If
law.
there is a national emergency or an attack on the United States, the government has the ability to seize bank accounts. Now, we may not believe that, but I'm merely saying if a majority of your retirement, your savings, your long-term is in a brokerage account, which, by the way, is a saving. Brokerage accounts are part of this equation. If it's in the bank, you are susceptible if we have a national emergency. And why is it that the governments are preparing for electromagnetic pulse, EMPs? Why is it they're preparing with military activities
Hold on,
in
wait.
our country?
You got to stop and explain the EMP.
I don't want to get too deep because we don't have the time right now.
All right.
But EMP, we can do some of the time. People who know the term that know it. And why are we having military activities going on our soil? They're preparing for a possible attack by someone. Who cares who? We all know who they could be. But if there's that national emergency and you're in the wrong place, Charles, how the church, how are you going to be protected and preserved? We're merely saying this is an event that is a one-time thing we've never seen before in our lifetimes, most of us. We'll probably never see again. But the data keeps saying it's coming. Well, what do? How do we get prepared? Here are some ways that you can.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.
Now, I know Charles was asking me, this isn't always just about, the big IRAs, 401ks and such. Mind you, you could even get, it's not even about going to Cornerstone. We're here to serve, but we're really here we want the body of Christ to be prepared.
Wake up. I think is
Wake up.
what we're trying
there's
to
two
say.
things more important, and I had people make comments all the time. I just saw this comment not so long ago on one of our sites. Well, what happens with Ezekiel said we're throwing gold and silver in the street because the gold market's going to collapse? Even pastors, so many pastors say that. I hate to tell you, you're really out of context in what you're talking about. Ezekiel's talking about the end times. If we're going through our alphabet, that's Z. I'm saying from A to Z, there's events in between. And if it's Z, who cares? We're all raptured. If you're ready, then fine. I'm talking about B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L. There's events leading up to Ezekiel's event. In that time frame, we're having a reckoning where this is going to be explosive in valuation. It already has been the best performing asset in the last 10 years, let alone history of these things to own. So where are we going here? If we were talking about showing you these markets, for instance, we have people, if you don't want to, or if you can only, go somewhere local, go to a pawn shop, get one coin, buy an old Morgan, do something, have something that you can do to barter or sell if we have a chaotic condition, because it's still money. Old 1964 quarters, they're still money, but they're silver.
The guy I know goes to church with us says he's buying like one silver coin every week or two.
Yeah.
He's just going somewhere and buying it.
We actually
and sticking it up somewhere.
We've had that. We've had people, they buy two at a time.
Sure.
And Bible says not to respect our persons, so we do everything to serve. But that kind of quantity.
Like you said, you can go to the flea market. There's booths set in flea markets.
Now you're not going to get this beautiful, Christian coin, Judeo-Christian coin, but yes.
Absolutely.
And why this is important is because what we're sharing with you is about this emergency banking law that came in. Wait till you see the videos that we're going to get into on that, I believe, next week. You're going to want to see this about the new banking rules. But the reason we're talking about and showing you these markets, major divergency in the markets, because this is the true data that exists that we're not being shown. So we want to kind of go here because this is the big one. For those that are in the Shemitah, the blood moon cycle for this September, look at this next image 15. This sets the stage because this is what I believe is coming this September. Right there is net worth to the GDP ratio. It typically signals asset bubbles. Now, the reason this is important, now net worth is just what everything is worth to what we're producing, basically. The reason this is important, if you noticed the three peaks like mountains on the right side, you notice on the left, we've kind of been consistent, up and down. We go in recessions, we come back, it's good. From 1970 to 94, you see on the left. Look at those three major mountains and then major valleys. That first one on the left is 9/11/2000 when they attacked our financial buildings, Shemitah 1. The second one in the middle, Shemitah 2, to the Elul 29 market crash in 2007 and 8. That was the largest percentage market crash in the history of the United States. And now we hit the bottom, remember, in 2008, and now we're back up. And look at the third mountain. We're right back there again. And what you can take that off, that gives me goosebumps. But that third mountain on the right, that is lining up for the third Shemitah coming this September for another crash. Are you prepared?
Terry, that Shemitah that you're talking about is a cycle in the Jewish calendar. Is
That's
that correct?
That's right.
What, every 8 years?
Every seven.
7 years?
You're supposed to be, it's a debt forgiveness. And if we're obedient to God, he said, you don't farm the land in the 7th year. You sit back and relax. Let the poor go in the fields to eat off the goods. And you forgive the debts of anyone that has debt against.
Okay.
In return for being obedient like that, he blesses you so much that you don't need to. Well, we've been out of God's favor for quite some time. We don't have to tell anybody how
we
as a
America,
nation,
as a nation, okay.
We shouldn't have to tell anyone how perverted and how out of line morally and biblically we are in this country right now. Even our churches are teaching things that are not biblical. We're in a lot of trouble. That being said, the next Shemitah then comes in due. Instead of a blessing, I got a bad feeling this next one is going to be another major consequence. If anything, I'm sitting back and I'm going to wait this one out until it happens at least, but I want to get prepared. Because here is a great American president back in the day warning us of our continued behavior was going to one day lead to this destruction. And this is from our great President Ronald Reagan. Sit back and watch this if this doesn't get your attention.
I believe that the issues confronting us cross party lines. Outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy. For 3 decades, we've sought to solve the problems of unemployment through government planning, and the more the plans fail, the more the planners plan. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. Somewhere a perversion has taken place. Our natural unalienable rights are now considered to be a dispensation of government. And freedom has never been so fragile, so close to slipping from our grasp as it is at this moment.
It is important to be prepared. Education is paramount. Wait until next week when you see some of the data of what's going on right now and how that lines up. God bless you, and know that if you haven't made Jesus Christ the Son of your life, ask Him. He'll come and the truth will set you free.
If you know someone who's not watching this program, we're on at this same time every week right here on this station, and tell them about it. Also, if you know someone that doesn't get this station or this network, they can watch these programs on demand on their personal computer, their smartphone, or their tablet by going to cornerstoneassetmetals.com, and you can pull the programs up there and watch them. Terry and I are going to be back next week. I hope you'll tell somebody about the broadcast. We'll see you right here, same place, same time, for more of the Wealth Transfer.
Cornerstone Asset Metals is here to help you protect and preserve what you have worked hard to gain. For those who have IRAs to protect, 401ks to preserve, or cash in the bank, we would like to send you a package of information regarding the changes to the dollar and the challenges of our economy that you need to be prepared for. This package includes how easy it is to roll over your current IRA or 401k into a physical precious metals IRA for long-term protection of your hard-earned wealth. For those of you with cash to invest, we can arrange to have your precious metals stored in a private vault or simply send it to your home. Call or register now.